And that phony faith God has written on it, in God we trust, to make you sure that this is not an enemy, but this is fruit from God. But that fruit has no real value except the value that has been put on it by that one who put it out there and who benefited from the slave with the slave master, who benefits from you, your labors, all of the freedoms that you have had usurped from you. It is your slave master. Who is your slave master? But those that are considered as the elitists. They are the ones who have decided that your service must be to them, for they have no respect and honor for a God unseen. Just as the slave were broken, so has humankind been broken. All over the world, humankind have been broken. Because everywhere that there is an elitist, or everywhere there is a group of people that call themselves superior to others, everywhere there are a group of people who have the resources of life, in the presence of those that do not, you have an element of this process alive and well. Whether it's in Africa, whether it's in Asia, whether it's in South America, whether it's in Europe, or whether it's in North America, whether it is right here in the United States of America, it is here that my knowledge has been grown to the process that I am able to stand before you today and say to you that you have been beat, you have been beat down. But I don't stand here today just to say that you've been beaten. I come to tell you, my friends, that phenomenon that must occur is an awakening which you must understand that everything that is important to you, your whole creation, your whole body, your whole being here on this United States of America has nothing to do with anything that has "In God We Trust" written on it. The food and the materials used to make the houses that house you, that feed you, that clothe you, has nothing to do with "In God We Trust" on it. In other words, these resources have been provided by that same power that put you on the earth. And in order to utilize here in the